The role of a teacher to the development is very significant, yet highly unrewarding, particularly in this part of the world. As the world marks Teachers' Day today, October 5, Joy News reporter Michaela Anderson reports, though revered by many, very few pupils hope to take up the teaching profession in future.
Empowering teachers, building sustainable societies. That is the focus of the United Nations in this year's World Teachers' Day. But how do we empower teachers if we do not make readily available to them the tools they need to work with? I'm at the Nima cluster of schools today to find out how teaching and learning is taking place.
The teaching profession is something I cherish most because I see every child as my child, and I want to help the children to also become good people.
How is the relationship, between you and your students?
Oh, well, the children, they are difficult to handle, but if you show them the love as a mother, you become fair and firm to them. They also show appreciation to you, whatever you do. And I can say they are good.
How much influence do you have on them?
Oh, for that one, all depends on how I deal with the children. Because if you do what is so good, I will discipline you. And when it comes to playing, we all play together. When it comes to learning, I let them know that it is time for learning. So you must put bring all your mind, everything to the classroom.
As the world marks, World Teachers' Day today, is there something you would like to send out there to leadership when it comes to education? Something pertinent that you wish is fixed, if you like.
And when it is first time like this, the pressure on us is too much. If they can give us a little time to put in one or two things to order.
Thank you very much, Madam Joyce Akrofi. Now, I would like to engage some of your pupils, if you give me the chance.
If she'll send me to buy food for her, if I buy it, if she eats finish, she'll left some for me to eat.
So you always want to be with your teacher?
Yes.
But I'm sure there are some things about her that you don't like. Can you tell us one? So one thing you don't like about her is the fact that she uses the cane.
Yes.
Why does she use the cane on you? Why?
When I do bad things, then she'll use the cane to beat me.
Then you also have to stop doing the bad things, okay?
Okay.
What's your name?
Abdulrazak San.
Abdulrazak?
San.
All right, what are you doing now?
English.
English, okay. Your teacher, what do you like about her?
Everything.
You like everything about your teacher? Wow, that's great. What's your name?
Linus.
Linus, what are you doing?
English.
English. What is it that you like about your madam?
His teaching is good, and it's a good madam that I like.
What is your favorite subject?
Math.
What do you want to be in future when you grow up?
Footballer.
Footballer. Wow. Do you have a favorite team you support?
Yes.
What team is that?
Barcelona.
Barcelona. You support Barcelona. Who is your favorite player?
Messi.
So you want to be like Messi when you grow up?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right, keep up the good work, okay? That is how we end it here at the Nima cluster of schools. Teachers have one cliche, that is, all professionals can boast, but the teachers or the teacher taught them all. From the Nima cluster of school here in Nima, this is Latif Idris reporting for Joy News.
So that's Latif Idris's report. Let's now watch Michaela Anderson's. Today is World Teachers' Day, and we are here at the Youngsters International School, precisely the Stage 3 class, to speak to some of the people. Good morning, class.
Good morning, madam.
How are you?
We are fine, thank you. And you?
I'm also fine. So briefly, I'll speak to some of you, okay? Tell me, what's your name?
Monica.
Monica. So tell me, Monica, would you want to be a teacher one day?
No.
Why?
Because I want to be
A four-star general.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So you don't want to be a teacher? Okay. What about you? What's your name?
Ola.
Ola. So, Ola, tell me, would you want to be a teacher one day?
No.
Why?
Because I want to be a lawyer.
A lawyer. But why do you want to be a lawyer and not a teacher?
A teacher because they like killing people.
Okay. So what's your name?
Prince.
Prince. So tell me, would you want to be a teacher one day?
No.
Why?
Because teachers are not paid well.
They are not paid well. Oh, so what would you want to be a teacher?
A footballer.
A footballer. Yeah, you want a lot of money like Asamajan?
Yes.
Would you want to be a teacher one day?
No.
Why?
Because other parents come and tell the teachers that they are beating their children. So I want to be a journalist in future. No.
Why? Why don't you want to be a teacher?
Because if you're a teacher, you have to be like, you suffer every day. You'll be lashing people and they'll come and put trouble on you. So please, I want to be a banker to get like my needs, to help my family.
Well, my mom said that if I should be a teacher, I have to study all kinds of languages, and I don't like.
It's not like you don't want to study all kinds of language. Why?
Because it's hard to put it all in your mind just like that.
Children indeed say the darndest things. I've also been joined on the telephone by Educationist Anis Hafa. Thanks for your time, Mr. Hafa. I'm sure you've been listening into what the children are saying. It's interesting what they think or how little they think of the teaching profession.
You know, let me tell you, the sound is so faint, I can hardly hear you. I'm at the British Council, so I have to find a way to raise the voice so I can hear you.
Is it better? Can you hear me now?
Well, it's very faint.
It's very faint. Okay, so
but can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Fantastic. Okay, what do you need?
Okay, so we've been speaking to some children. We've been trying to get into their minds what they think about the teaching profession. Many of them will not even consider teaching as their future ambition. And they say that teachers are not paid well. They would rather be lawyers, doctors. What is wrong with the profession?
Yeah, I mean, that is the question. I mean, many times when you go to even elementary school, class 1, class 3, and you pose those questions, the last profession they find attractive is the teaching profession. Because we've made it so unattractive over the years. Now remember, I was in secondary school in the 1960s. Teaching was very attractive. Teachers were held in high esteem. And even outside the country where I have taught, in the US, for example, teachers really are treated with respect. But here, society seems to be drifting in the opposite direction.
Why?
And we have to begin to really revisit the profession and give it the, how do you call it? We want to give it the credibility that it deserves.
Mr. Hafa, let me just make a quick intervention. You say that back in the day, teaching was a respectable profession. What went wrong that it's no longer the case?
Oh, okay, now, what went wrong? I mean, I'm talking about at the time of Ghana's independence, there were 6 million people. Now there are about 25 million people, and there are a lot of other competing professions. So what the teaching profession itself has to do is to begin to upgrade its own standards, and the society has to recognize it as such. Now, let me give you an example. Look at the environment in which let's work, the environment in which insurance companies work. And you guys are working on MTN, and compare that to schools right there in Accra. That's sitting down. And that should inform you about how we are beginning to unconsciously demoting education in this country. Now, imagine a female teacher who wants to use a restroom in a school where there are no restrooms. A female teacher, for example, who wants to wash her hands because it's that time of the month that she has to take care of herself. Where do we go to do these things? These are the very loud questions that are staring us every school day.
Mr. Hafa, how does the attitude of the individual teacher play into this lack of respect?
Do the question again.
I'm asking, how does the attitude of an individual teacher, how does it come into this growing perception that teachers are not respected?
The first thing you have to understand about raising young people is the environment and the exposure. Now, if you put a teacher in an environment that in itself is disrespectful, that takes away from the glove of the profession. These are critical issues. After this program, though, you guys can take your cameras to the public schools and look at the environment where the teachers operate, and then ask yourself, if you go to university, get a degree, an advanced degree, and teach in an environment like that, these are key national issues.
So let's talk about the future of the...
You also want to begin to look at, in fact, also go to Accra and look at some of the private schools, and then compare the standards of the two. Now remember, the teachers in the private schools are not as deprived as the public ones, even though the public teachers seem to pay better. The environment is very, very important. And as a nation, we have to begin to look at that and make the corrective. It's very important. Otherwise, we're going to grow a nation of semi-literate. It's a very important day today.
Okay, Mr. Alpha, let's look at the future of the teaching profession. We've just heard some children say that they're not interested. Is there hope at all for the profession? Is it going to die out if nobody's interested in it?
You know, I'm a teacher, so I'm eternally optimistic. I cannot be pessimistic and raise a child on pessimism. But what we need to do now is to begin with the best practices in other countries and begin to look at the best practices right here in, and then update the public school. The issue really is the public school, because I think it's a drive situation, and especially when you go, I mean, I've done training on the countryside where teachers don't even have means of going to school. No, they don't have places to stay. These are the critical issues. So we have to begin to look at this holistically. And then the other thing, the training of the teachers is also very important. Like most of the times we do it across the board, what we tend to do is to teach theory. We have to now engage teachers in some kind of productive act from the syllabus itself, so that teachers are not going to the classroom, get to teach theories and copy them, or children copy on a blackboard into exercise books, and we are tested on those things.
That brings us to the matter, very well, that brings us to the matter of technology. Can the teaching profession fade out because of technology? I mean, we've got all these apps. Do we need a teacher in the classroom?
Okay. That's another very important point that you raised. I was doing some training in the north where technology was totally absent. We brought the principals to Kumasi and for the first time expose them of technology, because they have to go back now and incorporate technology for three basic things: their schemes of work, weekly forecast, that's one, and two, their lesson notes, instructional strategies, all that have to have ICT components to them. And then the last one, the teacher and learning materials. All these have to be used through the ICT processes. Now, when that happens, that in itself will boost the productivity of the teachers, so they can begin to see that the end result of what they're doing is beneficial to themselves, to the students. So what I'm saying is that we have to go and look at the situation that's on the ground now, and then set the situation up, and grab the teachers up. Because I'll tell you, there are a lot of teachers who are committed to the teaching profession. They don't want to be anything else than that. But then once they are in the system, we need to support them for them to accept.
Very well. We'll leave it.
Responsibility.
We'll leave it here. I'm afraid we'll leave it here, but great contribution to the conversation. That's Anis Hafa. He is an educationist. Thank you very much. And we're staying with the topic of the Teachers' Day. We understand this 21st edition of National Teachers' Day celebration happening in Tamale. Hashmin Mohammed joins us on the telephone. Hashmin, so we understand the Vice President has been speaking. Tell us what he's been saying.
Well, the Vice President has been responding to concerns raised by the National Association of Graduate Teachers with regards to their vehicle maintenance allowance. According to the Vice President, the President has instructed the Ministry of Finance to release an amount of 4.5 billion Ghana to cater for the vehicle and maintenance allowance, and appeal to teachers in the country to bear with government whilst we continue to work out all outstanding issues.
Okay.
And he has also been speaking about steps that government has been taking to improve quality and then access to education in Ghana. He mentioned the progressive education system and then the elimination of schools under in the country.
Okay, we'll leave it here. Thank you very much, Hashmin Mohammed. And he's in the northern region in Tamale, where there are celebrations, or there's a 21st edition celebration of the National Teachers' Day. Now, we understand that government says it has released a total of 4.5 million to clear allowance arrears it owes the various teacher unions in the country. In a statement signed by Education Minister Professor Jane Nano Pukwajiman, the money has been paid to the Ghana Education Service for onward payment to the teachers. According to the statement, the amount covers staff car maintenance allowance, motorbike maintenance allowance, bicycle maintenance allowance, as well as allowance for transfer grants, committee of council members, guide allowance, and overtime allowance. The statement adds that the move is in fulfillment of a pledge made on Wednesday, September 30, to the leadership of the Coalition of Concerned Teachers and the National Association of Graduate Teachers at a meeting at the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations. But the Coalition of Concerned Teachers say the release of the money does not mean their intended strike will not come off, seeing that government still owes them in excess of 100 million Ghana cedis in incremental allowances since 2010.
A whole lot of problems that we are facing. What the money they have released is just to cover two of them. That is the transfer grant and car maintenance allowance, TNT, and some other allowances that Ghana Education Service ought to release to the teachers, and that is the 4.5 million. And it dates back from 2011.
So you wanted them to add something to it?
No, they should have. We shouldn't have even threatened to go on strike before you release money that you owe teachers from 2011. And this is just, but the money, what we are waiting for now, they owe every teacher who started teaching in 2010, they owe that teacher incremental credit arrears, 2011, 2012, and some part of 2013.
So government still owes you
a lot.
How much does government owe
that
you
one
now?
Is more than 100 million Ghana cedis. 100
million Ghana cedis.
I'm telling you, it's more than that. Looking at all the public sector workers, you could see that this is the way they are treating the teachers, and it's not fair. Okay. None of the public sector workers.
So I want to find out from you, what is going to be your next line of action? Should government fail to pay 100 million cedis by 10th?
That if by 10th they don't pay, then we'll go on strike.
They have paid some of the money.
4.5 out of over 100 million.
But that's a step in the right direction.
Oh, that money ought to have been released somewhere in April. Why should we threaten that we were going on strike before that money was released?
So what's next?
We have already written to them, and they called us. They said we should give them up to 10th. So we will meet on the 10th of October.
You always say,
and whatever they tell us,
the point is,
what you see, we wrote that we are embarking on a strike action based on the various problems that we gave them. We wrote to Labour Commission, and they saw that really we were right, because we've deliberated on these things several times. Labour Commission came in that they should pay. Okay. So they called us and said we will start payment.
Okay.
So they
have started payment.
They have started something.
Okay.
On the 10th, we will meet again. Definitely.
So depending on the outcome of the meeting you have with government on the 10th,
that will
you decide whether or not to go on strike
or not. That is what we got. Right.
So that was earlier on News Desk. Ayikwe Awole speaking to Kwabena Chenchen. He's the communications manager of the Coalition of Concerned Teachers. This is Joy News Today. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm Francisca Kakrapos, and this is Joy News Today. The president of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association, Kweku Asante Krobia, has described as insensitive the posture of government and some stakeholders in the handling of matters relating to the welfare of nurses in the country. He spoke to my colleague Matilda Wemega earlier.
They are frustrated, and I want the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations to understand their plight. Especially the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations has been so insensitive to their needs, and the minister knows all about the road we have traveled, especially with the case of the psychiatric nurses.
When you say insensitive?
Well, he has been issuing threats that they will get them sacked. I don't know whether he has the capacity to do that. Well, but he can do that. You know, this is a position he wants to take, arguably, which is on the flip side of things. It does not augur well for industrial peace at all. And he has to rethink the decision. Maybe he's calling for trouble because now the Madras Association is not in agreement with the aggrieved nurses involved on the strike action.
And Matilda Omega joins me in the studio. She's been going around some health facilities doing some checks. Matilda, what did you find?
Okay, I started with the Adabraka Polyclinic, where the impact is not felt that much because management there tells me that the number of nurses who are part of this coalition that are on strike are not that much.
7,000?
7,000. You know, these nurses who are on strike, the impact will be felt more at the rural areas because those places, you have them playing the role as in charges, nurses. They play so many
have more responsibility.
Exactly, but for these places like the city here, you have them being nurse in the ward, and you have health assistants, you have senior nursing officers and doctors. Everybody is at post, so it's not being felt that much.
So for the hospitals you went to, were they absent or some of them were there?
For Adabraka Polyclinic, where some were absent, I wouldn't say absent because those are part of this coalition are for the night shift. So we are waiting to see if they will report to work at night. But as part of the interim measure by the management, they tell me that they have rescheduled the shift of these nurses so that the impact wouldn't be felt. There won't be too much pressure on the few that will be left at the wards. I also continued to the General Hospital where I interacted with some nurses. I spoke with one whose arrears, I think it's 13 months.
Wow.
Yeah, and she tells me how frustrated she is at the system.
How and why does she wake up every morning and go to work knowing very well that on the last day of the month, no money is coming?
You know, the issue is, for them, waking up, coming to work, the motivation is the love for the job. Wow. Because though their leaders have declared the indefinite strike, you find them at the wards.
They don't have money, but they still want to work.
They're still working. You know, the issue is not about they not being paid at the end of the month. These are backlogs. Like, they are supposed to be paid. This 13 months, government paid only 3 months out of it, but at the end of the month they still get their salaries, but these are all back pay that is left with government to deal with.
Very well. Their leaders have declared a strike. Exactly. They're still going to work for the love of the job.
Yes.
Doesn't that defeat the strike that has been called?
Yes. So at some point you realize we didn't play the soundbite. I would have to do more of blaring because they do not want to be victimized at the end of the day, because they all form part of the association, and they feel they tell me that they know that what they are doing is against the rules, but they don't have a choice.
For this second hospital, what measures are the authorities or the managers putting in?
This hospital, because the nurses who are supposed to be on strike are on duty, so management is taking a coup because...
Oh, really?
Yes, they are taking a coup because after all...
Is there an arrangement which they have?
There's no arrangement yet. For them, because the nurses are post, they don't really see the need to put any interim measure in place. But apart from that, the nurses I've been interacting with tells me that they are hopeful that the meeting that the Health Ministry and then Employment and Labour Relations, where their leaders will be going into this afternoon, would yield some result.
I'm sure you'll be there.
I will be there to find out exactly what will be the outcome of this meeting.
Right. Thank you very much, Matilda Omega, giving us all those details. Meanwhile, some of the unpaid nurses who were on the AM show earlier said they are facing humiliation from their debtors to the point that some of them are even arrested on duty.
You have to borrow money from friends, relatives, and sometimes banks. And these monies are appreciating. the person tells you, okay, maybe a money lender, you take the money from a money lender, and the person tells you, in 2 months, I'll take my money with 30% interest. In that, because you had the word from the authorities that will be paying you, and these monies didn't come at the end of the 2 months. So it means there is accumulation on the interest, and it continues like this. Sometimes we walk in town and you cannot raise up your head because you pass and they call it, oh, that's the Laborones, that's the Nana Borones, and the Nana Boro here is not the Nana Boro I hired there. It's the Nana Boro that is borrowing money.
It's very sad. I seek a consent before what I'm going to say, I'm saying. A friend of ours was arrested at work because he borrowed. He was posted to Sefi, but I don't want to mention the hospital. Sure. Because he borrowed at a financial institution to pay for rent and other things because he knows nobody there. 2 years down the lane, he has not received anything. And the financial institution arrested the guy at the facility.
Wow. So, where is he now?
We just solicited for funds from ourselves, and we paid and we made arrangements with the financial institution as to how we're going to pay the rest. So right now, as we talk, we still owe.
A new legal year is just beginning, and today at the High Court's activities have been halted. Let's get more on the phone lines from a man on the ground, Kwache Afre Nyama, who has been monitoring this development. Afre, so where are you and what is happening?
I'm at the High Court premises now, and as you may know, the new legal year began today after more than a month break. And what is happening is that the state courts have relocated to the building that was used by the High Court, talk about the fast-track court and the commercial court and so on. And the High Court are supposed to move to this ultra-modern complex that's located near the National Lotteries Authority's office. But that particular building is yet to be inaugurated. So this morning, lawyers and clients who have cases here were left frustrated. Some came here as early, I understand, 5 a.m., but they were left stranded, in fact, because, as I mentioned earlier, the High Court are not sitting at all because their premises, even though ready, is yet to be commissioned by the President later this week.
Afra, have you been able to speak to any authorities there and find out what the plan is? It looks like there was no plan coming into Monday, and how they're going to compensate these frustrated people sitting there.
Well, authorities within the Judicial Council have declined comments, but what I've picked up is that the High Court, in fact, will not be able to speak at all because the commissioning of this ultra-modern complex will happen on Friday, so it will only be possible for the High Court to sit until after that particular day, from next week, Monday. And so what will happen is that people who have cases, bail applications and all that will have to wait until then before their cases are heard.
Looks like an inconvenience, but thank you very much, Afre Kwache Nyama. We'll take a break and we'll bring you business shortly. Government's decision to delay the issuance of the Eurobond until favorable market conditions might come along with some challenges for the economy. But what are the critical areas that could be hit the hardest because of this decision? George Afe has more.
According to the Deputy Minister of Finance, Arthur Forson, it had to delay raising the $1.5 billion because of rising interest on previous dollar-denominated bonds issued.
At the time we announced the roadshow, the Ghana 2023 and Ghana 2026 was trading at the secondary market at around 9%. This moved at the time we closed the roadshow to about 11%. Are you in a position to issue at that time to benefit the country? Obviously no. So it's about extending but not being saying that you have withheld.
But for some economists and financial experts, the Ghana cedi might be one of the biggest casualties if the market conditions do not improve anytime soon for this $1.5 billion to be raised, because it was expected that the money coming in could help increase the Bank of Ghana's reserves, a development that could make available a lot more dollars to support the local currency. The central bank dollar account could have increased by about $3 billion to $8 billion by the end of this month on the expected inflows from the Eurobond and the cocoa loan syndication. However, with this challenge, one does not know what will happen in terms of having enough reserves to meet the Christmas and January imports. Again, government was hoping to use some of this money to meet its financial obligations before the end of this year and also finance some projects outlined in the budget. So, with this delay, what will happen? Could government be forced to cut down its expenditure again because of the funding gap or hike tax rates to handle this challenge? Another thing the government was hoping to use the money for was to pay some domestic bond debts to reduce the interest on the short-term lending. For some economists, the delay could have some serious implications on the economy than initially thought. Some economists who also have been speaking to Joy Business have been asking, when will this market condition improve for the Eurobond to be issued? Will it be next week, next month, or next year? And let us also not forget that there could be some challenges issuing these bonds in an election year. And also the decision by the U.S. government to hike their interest rates before the end of this year could also have some implications on this bond.
Associating risks that come with investing in Ghana, and that could help attract the needed capital from private businesses outside the country. That's the advice from the visiting Lord Mayor of London, Alan Yarrow. Mr. Yarrow added that laws should be put in place to protect investors.
This is a very competitive world we're talking about now. I said that infrastructure in the next 40 years is going to be greater than the amount of infrastructure spent in the last 4,000 years. That means there's huge competition for that extra dollar or that extra pound or euro or renminbi. And therefore that risk money is going to go to those projects with the lowest risk and the highest return, which means if there are risks which are Ghanaian risks, they have to be resolved. And some of those risks are to do with corruption, they're to do with the rule of law, there are rules to make sure that the investor is properly protected. So these are all very important issues for the next stage of Ghana's development.
And it looks like we have to work on that if we want to attract businesses in the UK to come here in Accra and to partner with local businesses.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, the person who's managing the money, they're managing it normally for a third party. They have a fiduciary duty to make sure that money they're managing is protected as much as it possibly can be. And that means if they're going to come to Ghana, they need to be reassured that the rule of law is there to protect the investor.
Good afternoon, I am Baba Tando. Let's talk sports right here, right now, and let's Ghana, where media reports have been quite rife in the past few days about a possible shake-up within the board and management of Kumasi Asante Kotoko in the coming days. Now, Paul Edu Jemfi Esquire's board and Opokunti have not, Opokunti's management have not met the expectations of life patron of the club, Otunfo Osetutu, and that's the main reason for the impending possible shake-up. Now, the latest on this subject is that former Ghana international Samuel Osekufo will be named as general manager of the club. But beyond these reports, let's look at the bigger picture. Are these impending changes going to turn things around for Kotoko? Will the club move to the pedestal it wants to get to? Will these individuals be the answer to Kotoko's woes? I've been joining the studio, and he is going to attempt to find answers to these questions. Joy Sports, Ridwan Ibrahim Asante. Ridwan, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Okay, so names are coming up. Osekufo is there. Other names are also coming up. Do you sincerely think that Kotoko does need this kind of a shake-up?
It's become a ritual. After, every 3 years somebody goes and a new person comes in. So that's how, Kotoko have been run. So we have to accept the traditions of Kotoko now and then move on. As to whether the new guy is competent to deal with Kotoko's troubles, it's a matter of time. And whether he's also going to get time, to, as it were, implement everything he has on paper. We're yet to have, confirmation as to the board has been, as to the dismissal of the board or the dissolution of the board, and management team as well. Just this afternoon, we had the board chairman himself, Paul Edujemfi, say, he had no problems with Menchia. If Menchia asks, the team to go, he's prepared, to leave, and then a new person comes in. So that's just that bit of how Kotoko have been run the last, 20 decades.
But would you...
Sorry, 2 decades.
2 decades. Would you want to say that, or if I push you to the wall, can you tell me that indeed Paul Edujemfi's board and Opoku-Nti's management have failed?
Football is about titles. But then, modern trend has changed a little bit. There has to be visibility, there has to be improved crowds at the stadium. That's where they lack. But in terms of titles, in 3 years, they managed to win, the historic double for the club, the league and FA Cup. They ventured Africa on 2 occasions. They were beaten by Minos on the continent, but then a team like USM, or Usma, who eliminated Kotoko, went all the way to reach, the final, the group stage of the competition. So it tells you that they didn't lose to a bad side after all. They have achieved things on the pitch. Off the pitch is the problem. It's about improving the club's finances. It's also, about getting quality players. And for the supporters, I think much of their anger has to do with the poor signings and also how the club has struggled administratively with the points being docked from Kotoko's build-up because of the use of an ineligible player. That was a big talking point, and on the talk board, everybody was referring to that, and that's what made Opoku-Nti very, very unpopular. So if you're going to sum all these, then I think it will be just equal to incompetence. But then, they had titles to back their
Redwan, I'm going to let you go because you're almost out of time. But tell me, if indeed O2432, the second, says that Samuel Osei-Kuffour indeed should lead the management, do you think, without any for managerial skills, you think he can succeed?
It's simple. Experience is not acquired, from the classroom. I don't think there's any school that, will teach you how to be experienced. It's about the job. It's about how he's going to accept the responsibility. He has to fight, one, his persona, the perception about Samuel Osei-Kuffour. It's public knowledge. He's arrogant. He's disrespectful to the media. He's not a true Kotoko guy. He wants to be the showman. To run Kotoko, it's like to run, Barcelona. It's got a bit of, togetherness. You have to go down to the people. Are you prepared to sacrifice to look like, quote unquote, a villager?
Okay.
All right. If he's prepared to do that, then he can survive.
All right. So the discussions have already started. The arguments will go on. Samuel Osei-Kuffour, can he succeed if he takes over from Samuel Opoku-Nti, Francis Opoku-Nti, as is being purported by media reports? But that's how we wrap up on sports. Thank you very much, Redwan Ibrahim Asante. My name is Baba Tando. Good afternoon.
That's it for Joy News today. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. My name is Francisca Kakra-Forson. Thank you very much for your company.